It's going.
It's fucking rare.
Ooh.
Good morning, Michael Burgio.
Good morning, Mr. Novak, and to all our lovely viewers that join us every morning at 7:45. Today, this is Morning Minutes with myself, Michael Burgio, and Mark Novak. And today we're going to be playing a bit of Back to the Future predictions on where we see that property market 2021, 2022, post.
What an exciting concept.
Yeah, I think we need a bit of
exciting concept.
I think we need to change the narrative. We're all talking about the doom and gloom, but let's just take the next couple of minutes to just fantasize of what we feel will happen post the coronavirus, which can make it a lot easier to get through this time when you're sort of light at the end of the tunnel. So, Mark, what do you feel? G'day, Chris Jansen, for jumping on.
Hey, everyone. Michael, first of all, it's been turbulent times for everyone. We're all in this together. We are, as the Prime Minister said 4 times in his second last speech, we have to get a bridge to the other side, right? Now, we're going to get to the other side. And what I'm really excited about is all of the abstaining, all of the conservativeness, all of the essential purchases that we are only, and services that we are only consuming now. I think there's a time when enough is enough and the air is clear. And I reckon that in 2021, we're going to be stuck with a bit of debt. We're going to be stuck with a bit of debt, but we've proven that we can get ourselves out of debt time and time again as an economy under Liberal.
Yes.
But 2021 with property at 2% interest rates, because you can get an interest rate of 2% now for 2 years. Fixed rates, Macquarie Bank I saw is doing 2.7% fixed rates. I'm thinking to myself, and if you look at the long-term cash bonds, the 10-year cash bond pricing, I think that we're going to be happily stuck with these super low interest rates for a long time. When you look at the fixed term, that I reckon property is going to be unbelievable, Michael. Like, seriously, man, I reckon that it's good times ahead. 2021.
Good point there. Under Liberal, getting out of debt. And one of the biggest mechanisms to get out of debt is property transactions because of the stamp duty. So if
big income earner, and capital gains tax.
Yes. So I think if you're looking at sources of income, just like a business would do, the government will do, property is a huge income generator. So
land tax,
they're going to want to stimulate more property growth and more property transactions. And how do you stimulate transactions? The cheap interest rates and big capital growth. So opportunities, people sell, but then people are back in the market buying. When times are great, developers can buy big blocks of land and convert them to more higher density. Because one thing we've noticed over the last 2 years with the declining market is development applications have dried up. They're 30, 40, 50% lower than the year on, which means there'll be a lot less supply. So a good property market just ticks a lot of boxes economically. Because when you've got building, you've got construction. I believe construction employs one of the biggest employment sectors of our industry. So, and that all comes from a strong real estate core of growth.
Property, the asset class of property is a massive employer with services, with building, with it is just huge. The spin-off, even the banking industry with mortgages feeds off on property as well. It is a huge segment of the marketplace. So I think that 2021, we're all gonna, and I've said it to friends personally, I think we're a better race.
Yes.
I think that we have all looked inside ourselves in our underwear in the mirror,
Yeah.
I think we've had a really good time to reflect, and it's only just started. And I think that magnifying glass that I keep talking about, the essential magnifying glass, we are going over every single aspect of our life and saying what is essential and what is not. And I really think in 2021, the residual is going to be better. We're better for it. Remote learning, remote working, utilization of technology and internet. I heard the other day, Telstra announced that there has been more data usage increase in 3 days than what they saw in 12 months.
Whoa.
More data usage in 3 days than what they've seen in 12 months. I don't reckon that's going away.
Yeah, I hope it's going to increase. And a big thing, what you said there, is a lot of people have been forced to reflect and basically do that conversation essential. And there's a lot who have just had a very big wake up call. Like, as we know, there's a lot affected financially and with jobs, but there's also a lot that haven't been, who have used this as a big eye opener. So I think there's been some really big reflections from everyone.
And I think that, to be honest, what was that?
It will only make you better as a person and as a community and as a race, as you say.
Well, look, reflecting on 2019 in hindsight today, there's things that I didn't like in 2019 about me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've thought, nah, you know what? I don't need, in future, don't need that. In future, don't want that. Because it's forced me to put that essential magnifying glass over, everything in my life, whether it's consume things that I consume, products, services, friendships, family. And I think going into 21, the big question is, and if anyone's trying to work out what the future looks like, get out your essential magnifying glass and run it over the top of what you're thinking about, because that's what's going to rise in 2021 is going to be essential. What is essential to you, and to common sense and to the majority of people around. And I think that most people will actually draw lines between essential and say, yeah, well, that is essential, like toilet paper.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have had a big wake up call, and I think we're going to, once the economy gets back to where it was, if we're all now acting how we are, or with the mindset of how we are, when things go back to the new normal, I think we're going to be a very prosperous economy and people as a whole. That accumulate, I reckon the last 20 years has just been an accumulation of probably bad habits for a lot of people. Looking at a lot of the data, bad debt has obviously been increasing, exponential spending. Like, there's a lot of things which, if you looked 20 years ago to last year, you would have gone like, how did we get to there? Because when you look at potentially the older people, how their attitude, like, they're very they remember hard times, so they're not very frivolous with their money. Like,
I was just about to say that. Yep.
My nonna, like, if I'm go to the shops and buy a coffee for $5, she's like looking at me going, "You're crazy." But that's normal. But when you look at stuff like where it is, when you look at it, there's a lot of things in your life that you're doing that you don't have to, like a $5 coffee, which if you look back 20 years ago, that wasn't normal. But over the time, it's just been watered down. And we've got a lot of those things, like the saying with the smashed avocado. Like, imagine 20 years ago spending $20 on eggs and toast in a restaurant. You wouldn't have done it.
Look, here's a takeout.
Yes.
Takeout. Here's a takeout. Where if your mum or dad, or if told you that that was not essential, most of us would brush it off our shoulders and go, yeah, right. I've been around for 5, 10, 20 years working. I know what's essential or not. After weathering what we've just weathered and weathering what we're currently weathering, it's like There's that aha moment where people are going, and particularly the younger generation are going, you know what? It's not essential. You're right. I know you told me 5, 10 years ago when I was 18, but you're right.
Yeah.
And now taking that IP into 2021, Generation Y, Generation X, whatever the generation is, I think that people will turn to property and say, it's essential. I got to buy a property. It's essential. And another takeout is we've got land and we've got land and we've got house, like a package that you can buy in Warriewood. Okay, it's going to cost you $1.35 million to buy the block of land and build the house. Get this, at a 2% interest rate. Yes, banks are doing 2% interest rates at the moment. At a 2% interest rate, that puts you at interest only. That puts you at 26 grand a year repayments. That puts you at $520 a week. So if you borrow all the money, say you could, if you borrow all the money, you can be in a brand new 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, 700 meters to the beach on the northern beaches for $520 a week. You can't tell me that the property market once in 2021 is not going to do well with numbers like that. To rent a house like that's going to cost you $1,100 a week.
Yeah. No, $550 only gets you a 1-bedroom apartment to rent. Like, it's crazy, the benefits of buying at the moment. And I think the biggest wake-up call is my generation, 35 years old and under, with frivolous spending and what's really important to you. Like, being locked in a house and realizing that really your family, who you surround yourself with, and the essentials to own, so to have a property and a roof over your head. Like, people right now who have lost their job or were living week to week, their mindset is going to change for being comfortable living week to week. Like, when you see how vulnerable you are, that with something can happen and you've lost your job, you don't have home, you're going on the dole. Like, there's a lot of people who won't feel comfortable going on the dole because they've always worked for everything. But I think this will wake people up to start saving money, to start putting.
Oh yeah, it's like a parent that shakes their kid and says, don't look left and right when you cross the road.
Yes,
that's what COVID-19 in 2021 will be to us. I reckon it's shaken us all up and said, be careful. And you're like, oh, okay, yes. But if you don't have that shake up, you don't learn that lesson.
100%. It's like right now that buyer who would go to you, or the business owner who was like, I'd rather buy for, let's say they could buy for $1 million, but they go, I'd rather buy for 700,000 because then I have a year's worth of mortgage repayments. If it's empty, saved. I've got that in my offset account. I'd rather have that, where I feel we've been a culture of, I'll spend the $1 million and everything will be okay. There's never been that safety net with anything we've done.
And you know what? In all learnings, that's what we're taught. But in practices the last couple of years, it's not what we've done. You're right. So the takeout is that in our learnings, we've learned to keep a little bit for bad times, but the practically, we haven't. And then from COVID-19 moving to 2021 with property, we've always learned that, yes, I should buy something when I come out of school and I start working, but practically the younger generations have not, but now they know the importance of a home and a roof over your head.
And yeah, so it's perfect. So I reckon there's a lot of opportunities. We're going to, as we've said, we're going to be a smarter, more hygienic race moving forward.
Stronger, smarter, more, robust, caring. You know what? When I go to a supermarket, I treat that person different. I don't know why. But it may be because it's one of the only places that's open. And I'm thankful that they're open. Maybe I've realized that they are an essential service that I'm thankful. Maybe I've realized that they are a key worker. for essential services, and I'm thankful for it. But it's different, and I've got to tell you that another takeout is I'm moving into 2021 with that attitude. That attitude's not going to change with any of us. You know what I mean? That thankfulness and stuff like that's not going to change. In 2021, we're a better race. In 2021, we will look at what's essential. And guess what? The doors of our office today are open. Why? Because housing, renting a home, or owning a home is essential in the world. Very, very essential. Yeah. Honestly, I didn't know the answer to that question 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's true. And with what you said about coming out of the debt that we're going to accumulate, I think we've now prolonged the growth we're going to have. Like I was sort of thinking, yeah, a couple of years and then we'll plateau. I think with this, it's going to reassure probably a good 10 years or at least 5 to 6 years of really strong growth and great interest rates to buy. Because I think with where we were 6 months ago, we were sort of, I think, internally thinking, yeah, another couple of years of this sort of slight growth and then we may plateau off. I think we've now assured probably a good 5 years, because there's that debt that's going to be owed, and properties, as we've said, is a great source of stimulating the economy. G'day, Luke. Thanks for jumping on. So I reckon we've got, I know Jack said it yesterday, Mark. He reckons 10 years after this of growth, which it's really positive.
A big takeout. If you want to work out where the money is going in 2021, work out where the energy is going. If you want to work out where the energy is going, it's not going into things that are not essential.
Yeah.
It's not going into things that are not essential. So if you're going to cut out things in your life that you just didn't need in 2019, I can guarantee you're going to take that energy and put it somewhere else, whether it's into a bank account, whether it's walking in a park, whether it's moving countries, whatever that is. The energy does not get burnt or buried. The energy transfers to a different part of your world or your life. That is what's going to happen in 2021. People will have that energy and they'll say, right, you know what? I've got a new set of priorities now. Now, what I'm interested in is what in 2021, what my priorities and your priorities and our friends and families' priorities are going to be. If we do fall under those priorities as a real estate industry, well, real estate's going to do well. Real estate's going to do well because we've taken all of that wastage in 19 and plowed it into property because we see that as essential, or plowed it into, maybe travel. It may be whatever you see is really important to you and your family and your friends. That's where the money's going to go. That's a really exciting concept.
Yeah, Luke's jumped on. Closest things to safety, security is affordable properties that families want to live in. Are they saving for a rainy day? And Luke, we just touched on this before, the concept where everyone knew you had to save, but no one was. And I got what I said previously from a video you did, Luke, about making sure there's a buffer and a safety net when you're buying property. So yes, you may be able to buy for $1 million, but you won't have safety net. And it's where you would advise your clients, Luke, to buy for $700 and have a year's worth of mortgage repayments in your offset. But as a race, as a culture, would everyone been taking the $1 million option and just seeing how things go? And I think now, due to the biggest takeout from this virus and even this talk is that we're now going to be a lot more modest and essentials v non-essentials, and start saving for that rainy day, just like our parents and our grandparents. Like my generation has lost that whole thought of saving.
Had lost. Because now I reckon your generation, my generation, maybe not as much, but we're better for it.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest takeout, and that's why 2021 property predictions are going to be phenomenal for years to come due to that. People are going to say, I'd rather buy the property and then have the fancy car, because if something like Corona happens, I don't want to be having to beg or be at the mercy of my landlord to give me rent reduction because I've lost my job. We're going to be a lot more playing it safe, which is better.
And look, an example of that is, say you replace your car every 5 years. Say you turn around and say, you know what, that's just not essential anymore. That is not important to me anymore. That is the last thing from my mind.
Yeah.
Here's the concept. You decide you're still going to do it, but you're going to do it every 10 years. I'll use a silly example, right? You're going to replace the car every 10 years. That's half of the consumption, or that's half of the churn of vehicles that we go through. When that money comes out of the market, it will not be burnt, buried, or destroyed. It will be that energy or that money gets transferred into a different thing. Yeah. It may go into, hey, I better buy, the next 5 years, I'll buy an investment property instead. It may be in, hey, I'm going to take an extra couple of weeks holidays and spend that with my kids. However that is, that's an exciting future for 2021. And I think property is proving essential in that.
100%. Luke said Gen X and Y have never seen hard times. This is why they didn't save. I don't blame them. It's so true. We're used to buying $6 coffees and Smash Avo and just, new car sales to struggle. Oh, yeah. Like Mark said, where is the sending the energy going? It's a great point. Like,
you know what a takeout is? It's like a bushfire. It's like a bushfire. It is nature's way, and it's like, get out of the way. The bushfire's coming through, and at the end, the trees, the forest respawns. And that's what's happened with these two generations. Unfortunately, economically, with what's happening with the younger generations, they're now witnessing literally bushfires. They're now witnessing a similar a medical bushfire, like ravaging through Australia and the world. And the silver lining in the cloud is that regrowth.
Yeah, 100%. All right, Mark. So anything else you want to say closing off this morning?
Stay safe, stay healthy, stay positive, guys. I don't think, the UK looks like it's having a hard time. They had an all-time high with high, I should say, with deaths, which is a very low point for the country. And I think New York is at similar chronic numbers. And I know we haven't experienced, we may not, but we haven't experienced a peak yet, or hopefully we have maybe. But just stay safe, everyone, and positive, because I don't think we're through the hardest part yet. And it's.
I don't believe we are either, because what's just come out, because New York and Spain and Italy, Italy the last 3 days has actually had lower increase for the past 3 days, which is good. But New York is skyrocketing, and mostly, so the data, there's now reports coming out that China only disclosed the asymptomatic people who are infected. So basically, if you were infected without symptoms, they didn't count you. So their numbers apparently are way off, because just people who may not have symptoms but are carriers, they're just as contagious as anyone else. If anything, they're worse because they don't feel like they got anything. So they're out there mingling with the population. And there's reports now, because the China data didn't match really anyone else's country. But now there's reports that they were only reporting a few numbers, not all the numbers. So we don't actually know where it is, because everyone was going off China, how they handled it. But if they only counted the people with if symptoms, I think it's like nearly half don't have symptoms. So if they had 81,000 cases, that was really 161. So who knows, but we just don't know where we're at. But so that means we can't focus on it or change anything. We can just stay healthy, stay productive, and trust the people who we voted to handle this the best way they can for us.
That's it.
Alrighty, guys. China and Indonesia is worse than they are saying. Yeah, 100%. Never believe China. So comment on them. Anyway,
it's scary. I know 60 Minutes did a pretty frightening story on Sunday night, similar to what you're speaking about. Look, fact or fiction, I don't know, but we know what we have to do as Australians, and I think we're doing it well. So let's keep it up, hey.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Cheers.
See you, everyone.